Hello and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new, welcome. Today we are talking about a fanfiction called The Way to a Man's Heart. Details about this fanfiction will be in the description below. So, for the third time in a week, that month Robert has brought a lunch, which is obviously immediately catches the team's attention because this guy literally just buys Twinkies from the vending machine. He's now bringing home or bringing in lunches. He's bringing in bento boxes, right? And they can look at him and like, oh, it looks really good. Like they can't help but look at him like, oh, it looks really good. It's like, oh, you'll think he'll share. Of course, everyone, they're curious, but Flambae is especially like freaking out about it. And he's like with Prism and talking. He's like, this is like the third time this week, and like this month, like he's brought this, and so he's very clearly like he's also a little bit in denial about it too. Like he cares that much, and Prism's just like, yeah, it's kind of pathetic how much like everyone in the office knows how much you two like each other, except you two. You two are the only ones who don't know. It's kind of pathetic at this point. And so during when they're out during dispatch on comms, of course they can't help but ask, right? Sonar asks like if he can have some, and of course there's none left. And this is where Courtney insinuated like, oh, it's like, oh, it's your girlfriend. It's like your girlfriend made them, right? Making these lunches for him, and he completely just sidesteps it, right? Just sidesteps the comment, doesn't answer it, doesn't do it, like it doesn't even matter. And of course, everyone noticed. So this really gets everyone going because like he never answered the question, especially again for Flambae. This is I don't want to say like it's not proof, but it does. Like, oh my god, what if he does have a girlfriend? So after they're after work they're talking, and he's like, oh, like who knew having lunches could change someone? Like, oh, so much and all that. And Flambae is like the only one who's like not like very clearly not excited about it. He's like, whatever. I mean, I kind of miss him being a bit bitchy and like all that. It's like, right. And it's like you're just a little bit in denial, and just Prison calls him out. And it's like, yeah, you're just jelly. He's not eating your food. It's like, if you really care this much, just make him a lunch and bring it to him if you really care that much about it. So later, because of that comment that she made, he ends up having a wet dream about Robert, but it doesn't start out that way, right? It's like the most mundane, domestic dream you could ever have. It's just him in the kitchen, cooking, getting meal prepping, and Robert being there. And that dream really freaked him out because it was so ordinary, domestic, and just so like it really scared him because he's never had any like every relationship so far like before that has always been just like no strings attached, quick flings, like mean nothing, right? You never see them again. And so to have a dream about that and to want that with someone, Robert, really, to want to be able to cook for them, to share like their clothes with them, and to share a life with him in a space is something he has never thought he would want, and not something he thinks he really deserves because of how he is and how he feels that he's going to like he can't drag anyone into his kind of messed up life and how he is a person, his laundry list of issues. So he thinks about that the entire like that eats him. He thinks about it the entire way on his way to work as he's driving. He thinks about it so much that he doesn't even notice that he's 30 minutes late for his shift. So, and Robert is the one who has like knocking on his window and tells him, it's like, you're 30 minutes late. You've been here in the parking lot for 30 minutes just sitting here, just thinking about this dream. And Flambae's like, oh my God. Like, cause it's real bad now if you're literally just sitting in a parking lot thinking about a dream that you had so much that you're late for work. even though you're already there. When lunch rolls around, he carries a container of extra food that he made specifically for Robert. And Locke being on his side, Robert's getting into again the vending machine, right? No more lunches, nothing. And of course, he asks about it, but in his own, still very Flambae way, where he has to make like a snarky remark, right? It's like, oh, so happy lunches, did your girlfriend finally dump you? Like, because he can't just ask straight up like with lunches. And Robert's already kind of tired of it. He's already like, ugh. Like, immediately is like, all right, well, and says to him, it's like, it sounds like you kind of care, right? Because like if you like of how much he's been watching, especially since he says like, oh, you've been, for the past for a month now, you've had lunches. It's like, and he's like, again, it sounds like you care, and they end up getting into an argument about it because he's like Pompey's trying to ask, but because of how he is and the way he's like asking without really trying to like seem like he cares, he just comes off as a dick and just like being annoying for no reason. And Robert is like just not answering when he could just answer, just be like, end it. But admittedly, he's like, he's being a dick and just not answering. So they start arguing, right? Flambae gets like really heated because like he's not answering the question. And Robert tries to warn him, like, you're on fire, which gets him even more heated because he's not really understanding, like he means literally, until sprinklers go off along with the fire alarm. So, and this is where we fully get the argument where it's like, why can't Robert, that's like, why can't you just leave me alone? Because like he's not in the mood for any of this. And this is where, in the heat of a moment, Flambae ends up saying, it's like, I want you like to leave me, like, it's like, I want you out of my head. Immediately, stops kind of the argument because Robert doesn't know what he's talking about. It's like, what are you even on about? Mandy comes in. She's like, okay. Immediately, like, sees the situation. She's like, okay, you two need to finish your lunches elsewhere because this is already a mess. So Flambae just shoves the Tupperware into his arm and just leaves. And Robert is kind of just left there wondering, it's like, why can't he? Because like he doesn't want Flambae hating him, but he just doesn't understand his actions, right? And he doesn't know why Flambae just can't talk to him. After, Flambe's cooled down a bit, after talking to Prism and his therapist, he goes to look for Robert, which he can't find. He stalks Chase. Chase immediately is like, fuck off. Wants nothing to do with him. So he goes to Galen, because of course he does. He hears everything. What a terrible power to have. And also, like, because all the gossip. But it's not like you can turn. I guess you should put some headphones. No, I don't. Would headphones even help? You just gotta hear everything 24/7. Can you even sleep? I would just. That sounds miserable. But he goes to Galen. He goes to him, and he wants, to try his do it. And he's like, hey. Galen, he's like, I don't know why you even tried that. He already knows what you want. And he's like, all right, give me a copy. And then I'll tell you where he is, which he's, so he ends up going to the garage because he's there. And this is where they finally have their talk to clear the air about everything, right? Now, at first, Robert doesn't really want to hear anything, thinking he's there to maybe punch him or argue some more. He doesn't want it, right? But, once he makes it clear, it's like they're to really, I was going to say confess, not confess, but like just to clear everything up and really talk to him. He admits that he was jealous of this person, whoever it is making lunches, because he's scared, right? He doesn't really want them taking Robert away from, he frames it like them as like him and the team, because they've been through so much together, which is also true, but it's also just like himself, because again, he really likes him. So he admits that he was jealous and that he just didn't, want Robert to be taken away. And Robert can't help but be amused by this because this basically kind of started over some lunches, which he didn't even, you know, think was that big of a deal. Because the lunches, because he just says it to Flambae, he's like, his mom makes them. So after Flambe does a whole factory reset, after hearing that, he, it's like his, hearing that his mom makes it, it's like, he's like, well, you were just gonna, because again, Courtney had like said it, like insinuate it, and he didn't really deny it, and saying like, oh, your girlfriend made them. It's like you were just gonna let everyone think that it was your girlfriend instead of your mom. And Robert thinking, oh, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. It didn't really matter. Who cared? Apparently, he does. It's like he didn't think it really mattered. It wasn't that big of a deal. He didn't know that, of course, Pompey was upset because he thought someone, this must be special, but it's his mom, but like a significant other was making it, right? He didn't think it was, he thought it was the girlfriend or something. So he can't help but find it really stupid. Because, I mean, he even admits too that he was like a bit of a dick, you know, looking back. Because, like, Flambe really didn't help because of his way of asking without trying to seem like you cared. And it's like, you could have just asked. Because he would have answered. And he even admits, he's like, okay, I was being a dick, you know, that's my bad. It's like, I could have just answered, but I didn't. And I was just kind of, but none of that really mattered anyway, though, because it's, again, Robert's mom who stays with him once a month, not once a month, a month yearly, right? So a month every year she comes visit him and stays with him for an entire month, which is interesting because, I mean, again, this man doesn't really have anything in his apartment, which she learns when getting there, and he immediately scolds him. And then they buy a bunch of IKEA furniture and put it together. Because what are we talking about? You slept on a lawn chair for a while, and then you got like, what are you, homeless? Like, okay, but that's how. After they clear the air, this is where they finally, because it was kind of a confession. Because he admits to being jealous, which also just implies like he really likes him, right? So it's a confession about admitting, but you can already put together that's like, okay, yeah, he likes you, because why would he get jealous if he didn't like you, you know? So it's not quite the confession, straightforward, I like you, but I don't think he could ever do that. I don't like, that's just kind of not who he is. But after clearing the air, they start making out. Of course they do. And then Boyd walks in. Very unfortunate for him. He's just annoyed. He's like, you could have done this anywhere else, but you chose here to do this. Real nice. And also he now owes Courtney money, which is nice because as soon as they get ready for their next shift, she's gonna be like, so Roy Venmo me $5 or something. It's like, boy, like he Venmo me some money. It's like, so I was right. We should make him best off anything. But so now the rest are to know. Fantastic. Later after work, they go back to Robert's, and Flambe decides to cook for him, of course. And this is where they start talking more. They look at the food, and the first time his mom definitely left. And this is where Flambe also is surprised at this point because he's like, "Oh, you talk about me to your mom?" It's like, well, minus like some of the bits, you know, she don't need to know, but absolutely. And he's like, and he's surprised, but also flirted of what Robert had said to her. So he like throws some food at Robert's shirt. This where he's a little bit angsty, right? For going back to being sweet, but because he takes off his shirt and that's where he sees all the scars. And this is like the first time that Pommy is truly looking at them and seeing them. And he looks at the burn scars and that's where he feels, you know, because of how he is. Again, he never thought he deserved any type of love, like at all, right? That this wasn't for him because of who he is as a person and how he felt that, you know, everything he touches, he eventually just burns. So he felt that he would eventually would ruin this, would hurt him. And it takes him back to that night where, got his fingers cut off and where he's fighting him. And he doesn't understand how Robert could forgive him or really any of that. And Robert kind of feels the same way, right? He doesn't really care, and he's like, "You can't forgive me that easily." But Robert, throws it back in his face of like, "Well, I cut off your fingers." It's like, "Do you forgive me?" It's like, because he feels guilty with that every day. Like anytime he looks at it, he feels incredibly guilty because I mean, it's not like he meant to do that, But Flambae, says in the beginning, of course he couldn't. He blamed him and he hated him, but as time went on, as time went on, he kind of, in a way, saved him because in that mall, he was trying to bring it down on him because it's not like the fire could hurt him. So he's trying to bring the building down on top of him. So in a way, him getting arrested, saved him because he definitely, well, yeah, I mean, he definitely probably would have, or ended up somewhere worse, right? Or some other hero came along and they wouldn't have been, as forgiving. Is forgiving the right word I'm looking for? Or like they wouldn't have tried to like de-escalate the situation. They would just went in and immediately tried to tackle it to just go for the kill. But after that, they finally, become official, very cute, and the next day making it to work, lunch is in hand, hickeys on her neck from the night before, and then everyone passing money around because of course they are. We really just be making bets out of anything. I mean, what even was the bet? What just why? What, you have nothing else to do. Just like, I bet this happened. Why? Anything else at this point, to be honest. Anyway, that's all I have for your day. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.